Now, Norman Hastings was born in Leicester in 1927 and grew up during some of the most historical events in the 21st century. I mean, the change just in his lifetime alone is extraordinary. Before he died, his daughter, Julia Mason, began working with him to transfer his notes into an electronic record, as he was very keen for his children and grandchildren to understand their family history, essentially where they came from, and not let his stories be lost. It's now a book. The reason I was chuckling was because I said to Julia, "Are you ready?" And she said, "Oh, I haven't read it. I wrote it." No, ready. Are you ready? Julia, good morning.
Good morning. Can I just make a put? You said the 21st century, and that was my fault for putting 21st. It's the 20th century,
of course. It's the 20th, isn't it? Forget that. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's interesting. My grandmother, born more or less the same time. She's 96 now, and we often talk about the change that she saw. I mean, she remembers parcels being delivered by horse and cart as a child in Barrow-on-Soar, and that must have been the same for your father. It was
a lifestyle that we can't even imagine. As I was growing up, my dad used to talk about his life as a child all the time. And I don't think we really, as children, understood the significance of what he'd been through. And it's only now that I've spent time typing up all of his notes, digesting what he's saying, that I realise that he was a very special person, and he went through a very special time, and there are still people out there in Leicester and beyond who remember those times, and these stories will strike a chord with so many people because it's their life, it's your grandparents' life.
But the thing is that the changes happen so fast from post-First World War. I mean, pre-First World War, if you had taken somebody from 100 years previously, they'd be able to till the fields, they'd be able to look after their homes. Some of the advancements they'd be a bit amazed and aghast by, but they'd be able to operate. If you took somebody from 1927 and put them today, they'd be like, well, how does this all work then?
Yeah, massive changes.
Because the world's changed fundamentally.
Amazingly so.
So when you were typing those up, I mean, obviously a lot of these are family stories that you must have heard anyway, but I guess there was a lot more detail in his notes.
Yes, there were. I mean, there were the past stories that used to come out sort of when the family got together, when my dad's sister and brothers got together, the general chatting within the family. But yes, when you read in detail and when you read his words, they're more profound. They have more of an impact. But this book isn't a book about the terrible bad old days. They were terrible bad old days for lots and lots of people. But my dad always looked on the bright side of life, as did his brothers, as did his sisters. And I think it's that kept them going.
What kind of life did he have as a youngster and a young man?
Well, he was born as the youngest child into a family where there were 4 other children. His eldest sister, Mabel, she was about 15 at the time that Norman was born, and she was already a consumptive. She was already dying of TB. And they lived in a house. Dad was born in a house. It was 9 Martyville, which is still there.
Is it really?
Which is one of the homes for heroes built after the First World War to help address the housing problem for the ever-growing Leicester population. And it helped clear the slums from Leicester, which were very prevalent at the time. In the story, the story starts mainly about Dad's life at the age of 6. There's a little bit of preamble about his family history because the family came from Earl Shilton. It was the Wilemans of Earl Shilton. But the story starts properly when he was at the age of 6 and he was in 9 Martyville, and he describes the house. He describes the bare brick walls, the little front garden, the back garden, how this housing estate was being built. It was still in the process of being built in places, so he talks about that. But his story starts where his father, who wasn't a nice man at all, he left the family. He abandoned the family. So it was mum and 5 children, that were left. The mother was working. She was trying to keep the family's heads above water. She was working in a factory. Mabel was very often in the sanatorium, which was the Groby Road Sanatorium, which is no longer there. Ted, the brother, he was about 15, 16 at the time. He was working. So there was the mother and the older brother that were providing funds to help the family survive. And they did do very, very well for quite some time. But as was the system back in those days, it was the father that owned the rent book, and mother was sending the money to the father to pay the rent on the house, but unbeknown to her, he wasn't paying it. And one day, Dad turned up at the house while mother and the older brother was out at work. He turned up with a vehicle and 2 men, and he just systematically cleared the house of every item in property, whilst my dad, as a 6-year-old boy, his brother Ron, who was 8, and his older sister Maisie, one of his older sisters, Maisie, she was 12, they were at the house. They cleared.
He remembered that?
Oh, he remembered it so clearly. My dad had the most amazing memory, and for my sins, I think I've got an amazing memory as well. School friends will say to me, "How do you remember that? How do you remember that?" I'm 60 years of age now. I can remember people in my class. I can remember the age of 3 living in the Highfields area. This is me personally. We lived in a house in Gordon Street, which was demolished many years ago, and we had the multi-storey flats, the 2 flats that were built. But I can remember the age of 3 so much. And my dad, at the age of 6, I have no doubt he remembers the experience of his father emptying the family home.
What happened to them afterwards?
Maisie went to get the mother out of her factory. She came back. Dad had left an envelope on the mantelpiece, and she thought it was just a note saying that he wanted to come back. But what it was an eviction notice from the City Council housing, and the family were evicted from the home. They went to stay with another family member who was in the process of emigrating to Australia. They stayed in their virtually empty house for a few months till the mother could get enough money together to get another rental property, which in those days was very difficult.
Is the light that you shed on this? I mean, it's interesting because it's your father's memories and your family memories, but actually the light it sheds on this is of a different age, isn't it? The thing with it is that the memories are so visceral that you can almost smell and hear, and I mean the panic that she must have experienced of not, this is well before any kind of welfare would have helped.
Absolutely nothing.
The terror of what do I do with the children? How do I keep a roof on their heads? How do I keep them warm? How do I feed them? Must be just awful.
Well, in the event, she eventually managed to find a property which was 1 Victoria Road East, which again is not there. That house is not there because it was a slum, and the family stayed there for a number of months, making the most of what they'd got, before they then moved to another property at 1 Moreton Road, which is now demolished. It's another one of the Leicester slums. God. It does get better. It does get better because in my dad's life, he lived at 67 Asfordby Street, 42 Eggington Street, a house in Dorothy Road, which I haven't got the number for, but those properties are still there, and you know, I can see them.
It's strange knowing that you can effectively stand on the pavement where your dad did. It's
amazing. It's amazing. It really is. And I never thought I'd feel like this, but it is. It's his book has come to life. As I say, he was very, very good at telling stories verbally. He's excellent at telling stories on paper.
Now, you have turned this into, I mean, that's the point, you've turned this into a book.
I have.
Is it available for people?
It is available on Amazon. I've been in touch with the Oadby Library, and yesterday they came back to me and said that they will be stocking it. I've been in touch with the Leicester Record Office, and I'm waiting for the gentleman concerned with this sort of thing to come back to me. He's on leave at the moment.
Can I just say, I love the photograph of your dad on the front. It's a really cheeky, I guess he's about 10 there, something like that?
I don't know.
10,
isn't
12,
it fabulous?
something like that, but it's just a cheeky little
It
monster.
is.
I don't mean that in the best possible sense. He's just a bright, intelligent, smiley.
He was a
guy.
Moat Boys schoolboy, I believe, in the days when the Moat Boys school was actually incorporated with the Moat Girls School and the Moat Infant School on Ventnor Street, is it?
Yeah.
But I think that was taken in the days when he was in his school uniform. He was so poor, the family was so poor, but they were so happy, they were so funny so many times. They had the downsides. My dad had TB and he spent 3 months in the Gruby Road Sanatorium on complete bed rest. But I liken his story, when I read it, I liken it to the old William books, Richmond Crompton's.
Yes,
there's lots of escapades.
That's actually who he looks like. Julia, it's lovely to talk. It's lovely to talk. I'm glad that people will have an opportunity to read it. I think it's a fascinating insight, real insight through. It's not, you'd think it was fiction. It's extraordinary. But thank you so much for coming and joining us.
It's all true. Yeah. It's all true.
Norman Through My Eyes: A Social and Personal History of Leicester. And you've got to say. Whispering in front of a microphone. Julia, before you go, you did ask, can I just say something about my grandchildren, please? You've got to mention your grandchildren.
I have 3 beautiful grandchildren.
Yeah.
I have Izzy Bradley, I have Ayla Mason, and I also have Ella Mason, who is only 11 weeks old. But I know these girls will be so excited for their names to be on the radio.
It's great.
So thank you very much for that.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.